The Geneva International Motor Show in Qatar, 2023. That is a 190 SL, and what a beautiful car that is. Well, you can't really touch it, it's in a glass cage. I've got the tickets there. Thank you. A for Audi. And here you have the Audi RS e-tron, arguably one of the best looking EVs in the market. Not to 63.3 seconds, 250 kilometers high speed. Not that impressive, because a standard bottom of the range Tesla Model S now will do 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds and have a higher top speed and far more accessible. But then it's not all about figures, it's also about styling. And although I am a Tesla fan, the Audi does look better, there's no doubt about it. The styling on this thing is just superb. And this is not a hatchback, this is a saloon. Something that some people don't perhaps appreciate. And next to that is a boring Audi A8 or S8 in this case. And then you have the better looking RS7, which is probably very similar to a Tesla Model S, I think. The original RS7 rather, is very similar to an original Tesla Model S, and you can definitely see the influences taken from it. But as I said, this is my opinion. Let's move on to the next stand. So, of the many thousands of people here come to view cars, Lamborghini will not allow everybody to come and view their new vehicles. If you're a Lamborghini customer, only then can you actually sit inside the car and have a proper look at it. Otherwise, you're just not allowed to. So next we're on to the VW stand. And the first car is the Touareg. This is definitely a refresh model, a 2024 8-speed automatic 6-cylinder 3-litre, and this one sets, I think it's just under 4.9 meters, this one in length. Certainly new lights in the back and a refresh nose as well. Unfortunately, you're not able to get inside. I don't know if you can go inside. No, you can't. But we'll ask them to see if they can get access to the interior of the car as well. So I'm glad to see Volkswagen, the owner of Lamborghini, is willing to be a bit more cooperative. So this is the interior of the Touareg that we looked at earlier on. And as you can see, quite a spacious boot. Extra fittings to keep your packages intact. You can actually lower the rear seats from here and also lower the rear of the car, as well as having a 12-volt power socket. And what I also like about that is the rising automatic rear cover. So when you open it, it actually raises by itself. And what's new, previous models, is that the VW symbol is actually lit up as well, and that looks, I have to say, that does look far more attractive than some of the other lit up badges I've seen, mainly because the LEDs are of such high quality. As we move to the back, what's the interior like in here? So let's have a seat inside. So this is set, the driving position is set for someone who's just over, say, around 6 foot, which is about the size of myself, and the rear seats are very comfortable, there's no doubt about it, and also plenty knee room as well, and leg room. You can slide your feet under the chair and really stretch out. But as with all ICE vehicles, you get this huge hump in the middle. So the center seat, in terms of comfort, if the standard seat was 10 out of 10, the center seat is 5 out of 10. but because it's so wide, I don't think you'd interfere with the person sitting next to you for footwell space. And at the back of the car you have full HVAC controls as well as heated seat control. And here we have the front of the vehicle. Again, I'm not a fan of horizontal screens, but these screens, I have to say, they are getting larger and larger even though they are horizontal. So certainly you should get a good display when switched on. Now this is the VW Terramount. It's only available in the Middle East, the USA and China. Not available for the European market. And this is a 4-cylinder 2-litre engine, 8-speed automatic with 21-inch wheels. And I think it's just over 5 meters long, and it's actually a 7-seater, this one here. But as I said, available only in limited markets, not available in the UK or the EU. So, in terms of space, certainly the class of its own. You can get a rear spare tyre. How about that? That's something you don't get nowadays. And in terms of comfort, let's test the rear comfort seats first. Right. Now, seats definitely are firmer, but they are tiltable. You can actually tilt the rear seats. Again, same problem that a lot of these ICE vehicles have. You get a transmission tunnel down the centre, obviously, and they've not managed to get rid of it completely. So you can't really get rid of the central. You don't have the same comfort level as you do in an EV. And in terms of the front screen, very much similar to the Touareg, but not as smooth in the sense that you have two separate screens. You have two separate screens rather than just one flowing screen. And I thought that was a better fit, quite honestly. When it's flowing, it just looks so much better. Unfortunately, the rear graphic doesn't light up like the Touareg, but it looks not too bad. I think it's very much a Range Rover size vehicle, or maybe slightly longer than a Range Rover, 5.05 centimeters long, I think. Let's just look at the specification. Now here's a vehicle that is available in Europe and the US, is the ID4. This is the top model, the GTX. Same platform as the ID3 and the ID5. ID5 is a coupe version of this, and the ID3 is of course the smaller version, full electric. So 295 brake horsepower, 1-speed automatic transmission, and 21-inch wheels in this one. Let's see if we can get in. Let's see if we can get a seat in this one as well. So let's see what the ID4 has to offer. How do we open this? Yes, auto release. And in terms of cargo space, certainly quite a large area in the back here, and that's space for your charging cables. Let's have a look in the back. And the disappointing thing about the ID4 is they still haven't managed. Oh, sorry, I'll take that back. They have a completely flat floor, which is superb, which means the center seat is so much more usable and so much more comfortable for passengers. And in terms of the front interior, I mean, if you look at the Mark 1 ID4 and you look at this ID4, there is a considerable difference. Not day and night, but a considerable difference than before. Lots of use of black piano, so that's going to get a lot of fingerprints on it, but that's a minor issue. But certainly, in terms of the fitment, far better than the first one. It's even got armrests in the front here. So, far better, an improvement certainly on the first ID4. But as I said, a comfortable place to be, no doubt about it. So the next stand we have at the Qatar Motor Show is the Lucid stand. Now this is the Lucid Air, manufactured in Arizona, I think. And I was surprised to see this one here actually. This is what was, when it was first launched, it was said to be a Tesla killer. Unfortunately, no such car exists at the moment, but this was supposed to be it. Let's see if we can get a seat inside and take up the review from there. But until we do, just to give you some outside details, the car is 4.95 meters long and it's as wide as a Model S as well. So it's very much the same dimensions as the Model S. Now here on the other side of the platform, we have another paint option, which is the dual paint, and it definitely is eye-catching in the burgundy and the white rails. Certainly the car that I would choose if I were to buy a Lucid, which is highly unlikely since we're based in the UK. This is the Afradan Motors or Afradan Automobile stand, and they import a fair number of cars into Qatar. One of them being BMW, as you can see, and this is the BMW iX. iX is a full electric car, and it's supposed to be a very much similar car to the Tesla Model X. Now the Tesla Model X is a 100 kilowatt battery. I think this one is a 111 kilowatt battery. But the main issue with every other car that is trying to compete with Tesla is that they don't have access to the Tesla supercharger network, or rather they don't have full access to it. And that does make owning an electric car quite limiting. Because there are other networks to charge on, but they're just not as reliable. So what else do we have on the Afradan stand? We have the new 5 Series, and this is the full electric version of the 5 Series, the i5. And this is the M60 version, so the top of the range. I'm not really sold on the 5 Series, to be fair, but the fact that they've made it full electric says something. What it does say is that more and more people are switching to electric cars, and they want an electric option. But that is certainly a mean looking car. Let's have a look at the stats. So we have 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, which is relatively slow for an EV of this size. 600 brake horsepower and a battery capacity of 81.2. Now I'm not sure if that's gross or net, I don't know, but I suspect that is gross. Now, although the folks here at the Afradan stand have been very helpful, I just can't see anything nice about this car. This is the 7 Series, or the i7, and well, your view may be different to mine, but I just think it is just absolutely awful looking car. But the rest of the cars, the rest of the BMWs, I have to say they're not too bad. But this one is just not my cup of tea. Let's just have a quick look at the stats. Again, nothing overwhelming, 4.7 seconds, 0 to 60. But then this car is not about speed or fast acceleration, it's really about the luxury. Now this one is the VinFast VF8. Now VinFast have a few models on show here, but this is probably the most interesting one. The VF8 is very much a Tesla Model Y competitor. It's the same length, 4.75 meters long, and the battery capacity is, I think, 87 kilowatt hours, so very much similar, but it only has a range of 264 miles, so not the same range as a Model Y, which is, I think the dual motor has a range of about 330. So let's see if we can get into the back of this one. Oh, excellent. So load capacity, not quite Model Y size, and underneath there is no lowered lower boot, sub-boot, but there is space for a spare tyre, which is quite refreshing, something that you don't see in most EVs nowadays. Most EVs don't have a spare tyre, but this one has space for one. And in terms of the rear space, this you can tell is a shared platform car. So as you can see, there's a transmission tunnel in the middle here, just this section here. So it is raised quite a bit, but if we sit in, there is more than adequate space in the back here for someone who's around 1.8 meters high. Plenty of knee room, and you can fit your shoes under the chair. In terms of fitment, you don't get the rear screen like the new Model 3 or the S and X, but you do get USB connections and air vents. And what's it like sitting in the middle seat in the back? Middle seat, well, if you were saying that the side seats are 10 out of 10, the middle seat I would say is about 6 out of 10 for comfort. But the front is certainly very interesting. Now if we look in the front here, the gear selector is down the middle, individual buttons, and you've got 2 cup holders, all piano black of course. But you have a decent sized screen, and that screen, I'm just going to guess here, but that screen looks like a 15-inch diagonal screen to me, very much similar to the Model Y and 3, but a bit glitzy for my liking, in the sense that it has polished chrome finishing. But as I say, that's just my opinion, my choice. But this also does have a head-up display as well, so it doesn't have a driver's binnacle, but the head-up display makes up for that, and I think that's something that Teslas are missing. A head-up display, if they fitted one in, I think that would certainly solve an awful lot of issues for potential customers. And the front of the VinFast, you also have front storage under the armrest, and you also have a wireless charger here as well. I'm not sure if that's throughout the range or just this particular car. But you also get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as standard, since they don't have their own software. But other than that, it's hard to fault it. It's a very comfortable looking car, and is a very comfortable car to sit in. Now this is the VinFast VF7. It's not actually available yet. It's not, from what I've been told, it's not available in the US, Europe or in the Middle East. And this seems to be a smaller car than the VF8. So they're not sure when it's going to go into production, but a very attractive looking car. Can't deny that. Let's see if we can get into the boot. No, we can't. But a very attractive looking car. I think the front doors are open though. Yes, they are. Model 3 style door handles, and again a head-up display with a slightly smaller screen. I think the screen is very much similar to the ID4, and again you have internal storage and the gear selector. The gear selectors are on toggle switches down below here, so quite an attractive proposition when it comes on the market. But again, and I keep saying this, and I really don't want to sound like a broken record, in that the charging network is the name of the game here. And if these guys are going to connect with the NAT standard in North America, that would certainly be a bonus. But unless you are compatible or willing to use the Tesla supercharger network, I think it's going to be very difficult to get a hold of any kind of real sales. Now here we have an even smaller car on the market, the VF6, and the VF6 is also not available at the moment. It's just a show car, a demonstrator, and again slightly smaller than the VF7. But one thing for certain, when it does come on the market, it's certainly got a lot going for it. Now here we have a dying brand, Jaguar. Unfortunately, this car has not got any kind of real updates on it. I think this is the last iteration. I think it goes out of production next year. I'm not sure what they're going to replace it with, but that is what it is. This is another vehicle that the Alfredan group is promoting, is Range Rover. And this is the new Range Rover autobiography, sorry, the Range Rover SVR. This is the top of the range car. It launched about a couple of years ago, I think, but is probably, in my view, the best looking SUV on the market, without a doubt. I mean, there are many SUVs on the market this size. This size is the standard range, the standard length rather, at 5.05 centimeters, and without a doubt, one of the best looking 4x4s in the market. If we can actually get a look inside. So let's have a look at the back first. The unfortunate thing about this car is, even though it's so high and big, they just cannot get rid of this transmission tunnel. I mean, I'm not a car designer, but how hard can it be if the car sits this far off the ground? Now, if you're broke and you can't afford a Range Rover Autobiography, then you can go for the Range Rover Sport. Step down, but still a relatively attractive looking car, but nothing in comparison, I believe, to the full-size Range Rover. But very similar in design, interior and exterior, but the rear of it, I think, lets it down the most. Now, unlike the Lamborghini stand, the McLaren stand do allow mere mortals to come and visit their stand. And so therefore we'll have a quick look around the McLaren stand. This is the Elva and a 2021 model. Although, to be fair, I don't think any will be none the wiser for the 2020 or 2023 or 2024 model. It looks absolutely stunning. But honestly, let's have a quick look inside. What next do we have? We have the Artura, which is a current year model. It actually has the same interior as the Elva, but obviously this is just a hardtop version, but they've renamed it a different name. Next is the 750S Spider. Let's just have a quick look at the specifications. Absolute stunning looking car. So beautiful. Let's have a quick look inside. Oh, this is a right-hand drive. My goodness. Most impressive. For the UK, perhaps. The next stand we're on is the Link & Co stand. Now this is a Chinese company. Link is, I think, a subsidiary of Geely. the same company that owns Polestar, Volvo, Lotus. So this is one of their products. It's electric hybrid car, so it's got a 2-litre petrol or diesel engine and with a motor as well. So it's a 7-seat car, measures around 5.04 meters long, and I'm not too sure about the styling, to be fair. I mean, it looks attractive, don't get me wrong, but I just think it would date quite badly, but that's just my opinion. Let's see if we can go inside and have a look at the interior. If someone will move from here, let's see if we can slide in, or we can ask the gentleman to move along. Hello. Can I just have a quick look with the camera? Would that be alright? Huh? Can I just have a quick look with the camera?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, thank you. There we are. We have the gear function, start, stop, yeah. The screen, and they also have
They designed this car.
There we go, that's the link. Now they also have a 05 version, which is considerably smaller, but I think it's the same length as a Model Y, 4.75 meters. But again, these are not all electric cars, these are hybrids. Now I'm at the Cherry stand. If that chap would move out of the way, you'd be able to see it. It said Cherry. Now Cherry also own Jayco and Omodo, same company. Now they only have one EV at this show. The rest are either hybrids or ICE vehicles. The Omodo EV is the only one that they have here, as I said. It's coming out next year, and it has a range of 400 kilometers, so I think that's around 250 miles roughly. Now it's not going to be available in all European countries, only selected markets, definitely not in the UK or the USA. And other than that, all these other vehicles are ICE vehicles, apart from these three: the Tiggo 8 Pro, which is a hybrid, and the Tiggo 7 Pro, which again is a hybrid. So that's what you have here. Now these are available in the UAE from this year and next year, but not in all European markets or the USA. Now this one, I have to say, looks very much similar to a Range Rover Sport. It may be just me, but well, apart from the front grille, that is. The J8, very similar to a Range Rover. I would say a Range Rover Sport or a Velar, certainly. But very attractive looking car, no doubt about it. Not sure if the doors are open. I think they might be, because these are pull-out handles, all the rage nowadays. And the interior is, I have to say, it looks very attractive. 2 wireless chargers, and it's got a hint of a Mercedes air vents there, and a BMW iDrive system here. And the rear seats, they just look fantastic. Real captain's chairs with armrests, something which Tesla could learn from, I think, because on their Model X, they just, or the Model X, they don't have armrests on one side. Oh, that didn't go well. So that is quite a large cargo area. And in addition to that, you also have third row, so it's really a 6-seater. Probably the most attractive car here, I think. So the next stand that we're looking at is the Kia stand. Quite a large display they have here this year. and that is dominated by HEVs and pure EVs. Well, the HEVs are probably less of an interest to people, I think. There's more and more people are switching to EVs, certainly in Europe and in the UK, whereas in the UK I think 20% of all cars are now pure BEVs. Now this is certainly a stunning car, the Concept EV5. If only they would transform this into a real car with no B-pillar, that would be quite something. But unfortunately, concepts very seldom get converted into production models. And that certainly would be something if that can be converted into a production car. But they have done something similar to this. I think the new EV9 got its design cues from the concept vehicle. And this is the EV9. It's actually on sale now, I believe, in North America, and shortly in the EU and the UK. It's actually a 7-seat. It's actually a 7-seat version. And I'll put some data of it below on the screen below. You get some information on this car. I don't have anything at the moment. It's certainly a full-size EV. Oh, that's very neat and tidy that you can actually put the parcel tray underneath, and you have the tow hook and the tyre filler, and I think there's a pump in there as well underneath. I can just see one. And then you have 6 seats. Let's see what the interior is like. You have a full flat floor. You have a full flat floor in this one, and that's always indicative of cars that are designed from the ground up to be EVs. And you have a moving console, which I just don't see the point of, quite honestly, but nice gimmick if you have it. And a horizontal screen again. And I think horizontal screens, I'm not sure about you guys, but I think horizontal screens are just not as usable as a vertical screen. Or if it is going to be a horizontal screen, it has to be much deeper. Something this depth, you're constantly changing pages, and that's why I don't think it's as usable. But let's have a seat in the back. So as I said, a full flat floor and revolvable rear seats. Now that is something quite novel. Something I haven't seen before. I'm sure it's been out for a while, but I haven't seen this sort of thing before. In terms of legroom, very comfortable in terms of legroom, but it is only a 6-seater though, and I don't think anybody really needs more than 4 seats at any one time. And if you have 2 spare seats at the back, that's just more of a bonus than anything else. I don't know how that goes in. Oh, there you go, just pushes in. Oh, and that whole thing comes out. My word, that is very good. And you have extra storage down here. It's all very nice. But the plastics are very cheap. Back seats. Scratchy plastic, not so good, but the design looks nice. I'm not sure how that will date though. Not a fan. Well, that's not true. It does look stylish, but I don't think it will date well. But as I said, that's just my opinion. A car that's been on the road for quite some time is the EV6. Very stylish looking car, no doubt about it. Full EV, been on the road for about a couple of years now. This is the hybrid version, but also, no, this is the EV version. But there's no front, or there's a small front. A very small front in this one. Just to show you inside here. That looks very stylish. Again, horizontal screen, so you're constantly changing screen to find what you're looking for. If you have it in a larger screen, let's say a screen that incorporated the HVAC, I think that would be so much better. But as I said, that's just from my point of view. Right, let's get on to the next stand. Here we have the Toyota stand, sponsored by Al Abdul Ghani Motors. Toyota, in my view, is, if it carries on in this path, is a company that's going to be considerably smaller in the future. Now, they have only one EV on the market, and they are the largest car manufacturer in the world. And they share this platform with Subaru. Now, they also have the Mira, which is a hydrogen car, and quite frankly, it's really clutching at straws if you're promoting a hydrogen car in this day and age. I'm sure hydrogen at one point in the future will have its space, but I don't think that space is now. So, on to the next stand. Next to Toyota, of course, you have Lexus, which is the same thing as Toyota, but a premium brand. All very reliable, but I don't think they have any EV offerings in terms of Lexus at the moment. So I'm now on the Exceed stand, and Exceed is actually part of the Nissan Renault group. So Exceed, Nissan, Infiniti, all very much the same group here. Now, they only have two EVs on offer. One is the ES, and there's another one further down called the ET. So, but these are only concept vehicles. These are not available on the market as yet, but they will be in the next year or two. And so that's what their offerings are. This is, I believe, is a saloon, and well, it's a very nice looking saloon, no doubt about it. It's a full-size one, just over 5 meters, I believe. And if you move over to the other car, the other EV offering they have here, that's effectively an SUV version of what we've just seen. And again, can we get inside? No, we can't. Mainly because these are prototypes, so they don't want anybody inside, but you can actually have a look at the back, I think. So it's quite a large vehicle, but it is just over 5 meters long. All other Exceed offerings are ICE. So let's move on to the Nissan stand. So we're moving on from the XC stand onto the Nissan stand, or Nissan if you're in the US. Now all the offerings in the Nissan stand are either petrol, diesel, and there is only one EV offering. But the first car I want to have a look at is actually the Pathfinder. Pathfinder, I've just been driven around in a Pathfinder while I'm here in Qatar, and they are exceptionally comfortable cars. And this one here I'm sure is comfortable as well, but I've not ever driven it. But it's still a very nice looking vehicle, very capable, certainly, off-road and on. Now the only electric version of a car they have here is the Aria. Now the Aria is the latest electric EV from Nissan, very much similar to the, I think it's the Qashqai. I think it's a Qashqai. So very much a Qashqai sized car and full EV, but I believe it does not have what's it called, liquid cooling for the batteries. So if you don't have liquid cooling for the batteries, going any great distance is going to be extremely difficult. And next to that, you have the complete opposite. You have the Nismo, which is a monster of a 4x4, a bit over the top in my eyes, but as I said, just because I'm not a fan, I think that's perhaps why I don't find it too attractive, but I'm sure someone does, and that's why they're making it. But let's have a quick look inside. My, this is spacious. Very spacious inside. Near flat floor as well. And interior wise, Well, not an awful lot happening inside here to excite, but as I said, everybody to their own. So now we're on the Mercedes stand, and this year the star of the show is definitely the new CLE. Now, the CLE really takes over from the C-Class Coupe and the E-Class Coupe, and they've kind of amalgamated it into one car called the CLE. Now this is actually longer than the old E-Class Coupe and more attractive as well. But what I don't like is how they've created the same look in the back there of all Mercedes cars, with the closing in of the lights like that at the rear. So let's have a quick look inside, see what it's like. Excuse me please. So interior wise, very much similar to the rest of the family, in that you have the touch for the I'll just do that again. You just touch the metal paddle and it goes up, and all the touch controls. The switches don't move themselves, but you just put a small touch on them and they do actually have the desired effect. So let's have a seat inside. Now, let's shut that door. Now it's piano black inside here, so it is a little bit of a fingerprint magnet, but you can get different finishes. But in terms of quality, Mercedes certainly are, in my view, better than most manufacturers. The quality of the materials is very good, very solid, just like that. And if we just switch on, oh, better switch that off actually. God, how do you switch that off? I had to pause the video there for a few seconds because I couldn't figure out how to put the volume down. But it's fairly obvious. All you do is you just toggle it on the switch here. But one thing I don't like is this section here. One, it's not individual switches, but they are individual switches. So you touch here, and the whole element moves, and that's something I'm not really that keen on. But as I say, that's just my personal view. But other than that, the cabin looks really well designed. But again, my criticism are these vents here. I don't know what you guys think, but I just don't like them. They just make the car look rather dated, whereas the rest of the design is excellent. Especially the seat controls, superb. Window controls, superb. The touchscreen in the middle. I mean, it's not Tesla, but they're trying to copy the first generation of Teslas by going a portrait large screen like this. But the thing I dislike about most of this car is the steering wheel. I mean, who in God's name thought that having two stems on either side of the steering wheel full of controls was a good idea? It just does not look good, and that's why it just makes things overcomplicated. Let's just count out how many buttons there are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 buttons on the steering wheel. I mean, that is just crackers. But as I said, that's just me. Everybody has their own opinion, and as I said, that's just my opinion. Having too many buttons is not desirable in my view. Having them on the touchscreen and where you just access them when required. And a lot of these buttons you're never going to use more than once. So therefore, once you've set up the car, you won't really use it again. Now, in terms of the indicator stock, that's again on the left, and the gear selector is on the right, very much like the older car. And internal storage, you have a large glove box in the middle and 2 seats in the back, but we'll sit in the back in just one moment and see how much space there is. So that's me sitting in the back now. And if I pull the seat back, that seat's in my position. The seat should move back, but it doesn't. Ah, there we go. That's the seat moving back now. So I'm 1.81 m, and for me, there's adequate knee room and legroom in the back. But headroom obviously is a bit of an issue here, but certainly legroom, it's good enough for short journeys. I wouldn't like to go anywhere long in this car, but the seat in the back is quite sufficient for most people's uses, I think. So I'll just pull that back and the seat follows forward. So you have to push it back and the seat will follow back. Great. So what else is new on the Mercedes stand here this year? What else is new on the Mercedes stand? There is the EQE, which is a full electric version of the, you could say, the ML range. And from the rear, again, the same kind of design as you have in all Mercedes cars. Tapering lights in from the rear. You also have handles that pop out like the Teslas originally did, and the front end of this car looks, in my view, absolutely horrific. I mean, that is just lazy design, quite honestly. I don't know why they think that looks attractive, because it doesn't to me. And they've done the same with the EQS, and that looks even worse with the side rails on the side of it. And the rest of the car, well, that's fair enough, but the front end of the car, just design-wise, I'm sorry, that's a fail. There's no doubt about it. Now, the front end of the EQS, as with the EQE, there is no front storage in these cars. The bonnets are permanently sealed, and what these sections are for is that these pop out, and you fill your windscreen washer wiper fluid through here. Other than that, the front bonnet is completely sealed. It's as bad looking as the front. Now we come to the EQS. Now the EQS, in my view, is a design fail. In fact, all these EQ cars just don't look as good as the ICE versions. And the reason I'm saying is that the front ends are just not attractive. They're it's just like they filled in the front grille with a solid grille, and not attractive at all. Now, if you look at the regular, S-Class, now that's an attractive looking car. If you compare that with that looks absolutely horrific, unfortunately. But as I said, that's just my view. Now, if you look at the back end of this car, and we'll compare the EQS with the S-Class, that looks mildly attractive, whereas in my view this looks horrendously bad. But as I said, that's just my view. Now, Mercedes SUVs are a different matter altogether. These, in my view, are attractive looking cars, well designed, and I think will date very well. And this is the, I believe this is the new GLE, which is the SUV version of the E-Class, I think you could call it, some people say. Very spacious inside. We'll see if we can get a seat inside and see if they'll open this one up for us. They opened up the C-Class for us, but I think it really depends who you speak to. And unfortunately, some people are not willing to cooperate, whereas others are. And here we have the AMG version of the GLC, I think. Yes, this is the GLC. Let's have a look at the GLC 63S. So basically a performance version of the car that we just saw before. And this is obviously the traditional GLS, just a larger version of the GLE. 7-seater, this one. Again, not terribly attractive, but far more attractive than the EV offering that they have here. Now, if you want to see something really ugly, just hang on 1 minute. And that would be this, the G-Wagon. An absolutely awful looking vehicle. Why anybody would buy one of these, I really don't know. It can't be just because you have a lot of money you'd buy one of these. You just have to have a lot of money and very bad taste at the same time, which I don't think is that often, which is why you don't see too many of these about. But then they are very expensive cars. So we're just going to have a quick look inside the GLC 43, and very much the same interior as the CLE. In fact, the E-Class, the C-Class, the GLE, GLC, they all very much have the same interior, as in you have the waterfall in the middle, with a screen on the top, 3 vents in the centre, 2 on either side, and this horrific looking steering wheel. Well, let's have a look at the back, see how much space you have in the back. For a GLC, which is very much equivalent, if you were looking at EV standards, this would be a Model Y equivalent. And the seats are firm, there's no doubt about that. You can't tilt them back, unfortunately, but the leg room and the knee room is more than sufficient. Because if you look at my hand here, there's a few inches there. Headroom is definitely more than sufficient. Now the center seat, unfortunately, because you have this transmission tunnel in the middle, is not going to be that comfortable, but I don't think that many people really use the middle seat now on a regular basis, rather. If you do, then obviously this is not the car for you, but if you don't, it's a comfortable car and it's a very good looking car. I just think the ICE versions of Mercedes cars are far more attractive than the EV versions. And the EV versions, I think the designers just gave up, especially the front ends, and it was almost like an afterthought. Whereas the ICE versions, they really have put in an awful lot of thought. So now on to the next stand. Just as we go to the next hall, here's the ID Buzz, an overpriced EV. I think these chaps have driven all the way from Geneva to Qatar in an EV. That's a challenge in itself. Mainly because the charging network is very limited. Here we are on the Porsche stand, and we have the almighty Taycan, probably one of the best looking EVs on the market, but not in this colour. The Audi GT and the Porsche Taycan, same architecture, but obviously very different designs, both very attractive designs. But the Taycan, I think, wins the design war there. It's just such an attractive looking car. But at one point it was said to be a Tesla Model S killer, but far from it. So on the second attempt, we are going to have a quick look inside the Lucid Air. So the Lucid Air is built in Arizona, North America, and it's roughly the same length as a Tesla Model S, about 4.95 meters long, but only available in the US at the moment. We'll find out later on if it's available in the UAE or not, but let's have a quick look inside. So first things first, let's switch off that music. And how do you do that? I think, no, it's not that button. So we managed to get inside the Lucid Air, and first thing first is to adjust the seat to our liking. Get the seat adjusted inside the Lucid Air, and on first impressions, it's a very attractive interior. There's no doubt about that. But how practical it is, that's a different matter. In terms of the screens, you have two screens. You have three screens. You have the binnacle in front of the driver. You have a smaller screen to the right, and then you have this larger screen down below. Now, evidently, the smaller screen expands onto the larger screen down below, and this screen can also be this larger screen can also be tucked away into a smaller area here. I think you just press this button here, or you wave it up, and then it stows away, and then you have a larger storage space underneath here. 2 cup holders and a little bit of storage down below there, and then all this can neatly be tucked away, and then you can have the larger screen out again. Now it also has a fair number of hard buttons as well, as in scroll buttons for the volume and temperature controls below it as well. But what we're going to do now is sit in the back. Now, in the back of the car, you actually have copious amounts of legroom. But even with the seat so high up, you cannot put your feet underneath the seat. That's one thing you can't do. So therefore, compare that to a Model S, for instance. You'll be able to put your feet underneath the seat. In this car, you can't. But there is a fair amount of legroom, as in you can see how much legroom there is. Now, in terms of the floor is not completely flat. There is a hump in the middle here, and that's disappointing considering it's an EV from the ground up. Now let's sit in the middle seat. Now, if the side seats were a 10 out of 10, the middle seat is definitely not. It's probably a 6 out of 10 or a 6.5 out of 10 for comfort. So not the most comfortable middle seat, but then how often are you going to use it? And that's the name of the game here. If you're not going to use it that often, then it's not really that much of an issue. So again, let's have a look at the boot and see how much boot space there is. So in terms of the boot, it is more than ample. I would suggest more than ample. It really is quite extraordinary, and it also has a pass-through as well if you need it, and a rear storage area as well, a sub-boot some would say, and that is quite deep. So in terms of storage, there shouldn't be a complaint in terms of storage. There's plenty of space there. Can we open the front boot? So the front boot is really quite vast. You have a subfloor underneath, and you have a divider, which some other car companies could learn from, no doubt about that. And that is really, it's exceptionally good design, I think. So let's get on to let's leave Lucid here. Now here's a car that you definitely will not have heard of. It's called a Simorgh by a company called Entop. It's designed by a designer called Mohammad Raza from Afghanistan. And they are going to manufacture this car, if they get funding, in Afghanistan. It's actually a V4 or a V8, so it comes in 2 configurations, and very good looking car, no doubt about it. But will they get funding for it? That's a different matter. Other than that, that's the name of the company, Simorgh, made by Entop.